The Mini V's expanded interface gives you significant flexibility beyond the original instrument. Everything that you see in this box here wasn't part of the original machine. This is stuff that's been added later and that we can add because we're in a soft synth world here. So we've left the purity of the Mini V behind, and now we're in VST territory. So let's have a look at the modulation matrix. Here we've got 8 banks, so each one of these pairs, source and destination, is a separate setting, and there are 8 of them available to us. We turn the modulation matrix on over here with this button, and then from that point onwards we have these sources that we can pick. So as you see here, it's currently set to VCF envelope, which is basically these 3 knobs down here, the attack, decay and sustain of the filter bank. That envelope is being applied to all 1, 2, 3 of the oscillators that make this sound. So the FM frequency modulation, the pitch, is being changed on all 3 oscillators according to the envelope that's specified by the filter. So let's have a quick look at the filter. We have an attack time of 7 milliseconds, that's very fast, a decay time of 75 milliseconds, and then a sustain level of 0. So we're going to get something very quickly. It's only taking place over the first 82 milliseconds of sound every time we play a note. Something is happening to the pitch of the tones during that time. Let's hear what. Hear that kind of dance hall stab thing. If I turn the amount down, it's currently at 0.19. If I turn that down to 0 and play the sound again, back up, hear that little, it's very temporarily just spiking the sound up, spiking the pitch up. So that's the filter envelope being applied to the pitch, the frequency modulation of all 3 oscillators. Switch to a different sound now to show you how the LFO works. So LFO stands for low frequency oscillator, and you can see that just like many other options, it's here as a modulation source option. So if I play this note, you can hear, you might be able to hear, there's a tiny amount of frequency modulation being applied. Let's make it more dramatic. Now then, this is being applied to VCO2 frequency, and when we look down on the oscillator list, only VCO2 is actually on. I turn that off, we don't get any sound anymore. And the modulation is being applied by the low frequency oscillator. So it's currently set to a sine wave, and we're in MIDI sync mode, which means that it's set to 150 beats per minute, and it's tempo divided by 6. If I slow this down or speed it up, okay, and the amount of pitch change that's being applied to it is set by this level here. So typically when you're doing frequency modulation, you'll have very subtle effects set, very subtle levels set, and it just gives a little bit of shimmer. Makes the tone slightly more interesting. Right, let's build one from scratch. So let's pick velocity. Now this isn't a velocity sensitive instrument, so I can play a very soft note or a very loud note sounds exactly the same, doesn't matter how hard I hit the key, which gives us an opportunity to use velocity as a modulation source without having any impact on the sound itself. So we're going to tie velocity to the filter cutoff, and at the moment, don't forget, we're still at 0, so we're not going to have any effect on the sound. So that's what the note sounds like every time we play it. But if we now increase the sensitivity of the velocity modulation, so I'll still play a very soft note. Oh, not soft enough. There you go. I'm playing it really quietly. As soon as I give any force to the key, then we're starting to modulate the cutoff frequency. It's like we've turned this knob, but we're doing it via velocity on the keyboard. So if I hit it as hard as I possibly can, it's like if I turn this off, I'm just basically cranking the cutoff frequency up to the max, but rather than doing it via the knob, I'm doing it via a modulation source. So you can route any of these modulation sources to any of these effects. But anyway, that's the modulation matrix. Really powerful, really flexible. Almost, it's really easy to just completely pass it by, to not notice it's there and not notice the dramatic effect it's having on your sound. So when you load a preset in, make sure you have a look. I've obviously picked one that has absolutely nothing set to it, but just have a look and see what it's set to, because this is going to be shaping a large part of your sound. Thanks very much for watching this one. I'll see you next time.